So, do you think that a lot of people just like reach just like a certain point in their life where they're just like, I'm just not gonna give a fuck anymore?
Absolutely. I feel like everybody reaches that point, like tipping point, breaking point, right? You bend till you break, right? So, to answer your question in short, yes. Have you read the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
No.
It's a great book. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Highly, highly recommend it. And I went into the book thinking like, oh, okay, great. Like, it's a guy gonna tell me like, everything sucks, stop giving a fuck, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But this guy studied nihilism, Buddhism, Stoicism, minimalism, entrepreneurship. Like, he's really studied every single art of just ethics, philosophy. What's the other one? Just self-awareness. And there was one more that we bring up a lot. Self-love. He talks about all that. And he comes to the conclusion, if I want to summarize the book, he comes to this conclusion. Existence is pain.
Yes.
It's that simple. Life is about choosing which pain you're willing to tolerate. You know what I mean? That's how you should handle life.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So he has that approach with that book where he doesn't tell you or teach you stop giving a fuck. He starts telling you start giving a fuck about the right things.
Precisely.
Start giving a fuck about the things that are worth it. You know what I mean? So that, to answer your question, yes, people hit that wall. People definitely run into that situation where like, you know, I don't give a fuck anymore, right? But you shouldn't approach it like that because you're missing out on opportunities. You're missing out on beautiful connections. The world is your oyster. You're missing out on that when you just stop giving a fuck about it, right? Instead, shift your fucks onto more important things. You know, really view life as it is. Life is, yes, pain. It hurts to exist, right? And we both can agree on that. It's just choosing that hurt. Choose what you're willing to go through. That's the value.
Exactly. So on one of the past episodes on like women, have we lost our wisdom? It's just like I have like a small talk with women. I talk about how like shit's gonna hit the fan throughout life, you know, and that's just like a very natural thing, right? So your mindset about when those things happen, it has to be on point and understand like sometimes things just aren't gonna go your way, right? And you have to like reframe and refocus. But when I talk about like giving a fuck, like I'll be talking to people about relationships, right? Like in our community. And like I see like a lot of these guys or a lot of these girls who are just like, they've reached a point to where they can no longer handle all the emotional and mental opportunities that are coming their way for growth. So they just shut down.
Okay.
And then they just say, well, I'm just not going to give a fuck.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when in fact it should be like you're saying, you decide what to care about.
Yeah.
What's important.
Yeah. Give your fucks out sparingly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny. It's actually ironic. The people that come to that conclusion are, strangely enough, the people that care the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it whenever I meet people that are like, oh, I have trust issues. I don't trust anybody. So you care a lot.
Yeah.
You care a lot, and you've been down this road where you got hurt, or you know, you bent until you broke. But it's funny whenever you reach those people like, I just don't care. I just don't give a fuck. It turns out you care a lot. Yeah. You have the capacity to care a lot, and it's just been expended in so many different ways. So let's approach this. I want to approach this in a very logical way.
Okay.
Instead of in an emotional way. You have to view your fucks or your care or even just your mental aptitude like your bank account. You have to see this as a currency. You know what I mean? And some people are just broke.
Yeah.
You know, some people are they're tapped out.
Yeah.
They're done. They're over. Whereas you should approach like, okay, great. Maybe you get a few fucks here and there. You get a couple of this mental currency, of this caring currency. And you have to be very careful where you put it, you know, because here's the thing. Someone's going to come along, like, for example, me doing this episode with you. I don't have to be here, right? But that's me giving you a fuck.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And then you give one back. You see what I mean? Like that's how this works. It should work as an exchange.
Absolutely.
And some currencies are less valuable than others or whatever. And sometimes you give too much, you know what I mean? You leave a tip, or sometimes you took too much, or
you leave
whatever.
A tip.
You understand my point?
Yeah,
is that like you have to view this as a currency instead of just bam, dishing it out, throwing it everywhere like you've got it. Maybe shop around a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at your options. Where can you spend your time, your energy, your mental, your mental strength, your mental aptitude is the right word.
Absolutely.
And I mean that's just how I feel. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I also want to talk about like loss and gratitude. It took me a long time to reach this mindset of I get to decide what I care about. You know, like growing up, like there was a lot of trauma and a lot of loss, and like losing people in your life that you care about so much. It teaches you like value and gratitude for the people that you have around you and the experiences that you get to have and all these other things. And I think right now with like the holiday season with COVID, so many of us have experienced loss in one way or another. And that can cause people to like kind of like reach a point to where like their capacity to handle certain types of emotions is maxed out. So like I like I said earlier, like they're just like, I'm just not going to care about it anymore. I'm going to stop giving a fuck, because if I stop giving a fuck, then it's going to stop affecting me. And that's not how it works at all. It's going to continue to affect you, and it's going to continue to be there, and you can say I don't give a fuck all you want, but eventually it's going to come to the surface and explode.
It's translating to the universe as I am giving fucks. And it's eating you up from the inside. Another thing is you have to remember, a lot of people are introverts or extroverts. You know, they have that dynamic. So it's very different on how, you know, a social interaction can be very draining for them because they're introverted. An extrovert, on the other hand, that comes to them naturally. They light up the room as soon as they come in. So just caring or giving a fuck is different from person to person, and you have to know what that looks like for you. You know, you have to maybe start. Maybe that should be step one. Step one is define what you're giving a fuck. Like, what does that look like?
What are you caring about?
Yeah, what do you care about? What does that look like? What does that look like to you? Like, what is it? And now you very quickly identify, oh, so that's what's draining me. You know what I mean? That's what's pulling energy or light from me, is when I do this, you know, or when I don't do this. You know what I mean? So it's maybe that's what should be the first step for most people, is identifying
the feeling and the emotion.
The feeling, the emotion, identifying the cause.
Yes, absolutely.
Identifying the cause. What is it? Like what's irritating? Be honest. Like what's irritating you? You know what I mean? So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it's commonplace where a lot of us just don't get what we want, right, out of life. But you should not focus on the lack of. You should have an appreciation for what is already present.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the key to life.
Yeah, right there. You know, you can go to like a third world country. I mean, you can like I'll walk around my neighborhood and I see these families that don't have a whole lot. But the kids are outside and they're playing and they look like they're having fun. You know, when you, at least for myself, like I grew up like not having a whole lot, right? And I don't remember lacking in my childhood, because like I had shelter and I had food and I had like friends and I had clothes to wear, you know, and I had a couple of toys to play with. I had everything I needed. You know what I mean? And then like you get older and you start, or at least in my case, like I got older and then we changed, the dynamic changed as to like with regard to class, I guess, if we're going to refer to it in that way. And the people that had more were a lot less happy.
Yeah.
Than the people I was around that had less.
Yes, yes.
You know?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I actually did a presentation on this in college in regards to ethics. It was an ethics class, and we spoke about that. It's what makes you happy and why. Yeah. So very quickly, I wanted to just, because I feel like most people think at like a fifth grade level, and it's not. I'm not condescending. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying like it's okay. Like your attention is very thin.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Your attention is very thin. Everybody, you're in fact, most people are having a sensory overload where they're having so much information thrown at them. So the point is, you want to digest it down to the absolute most basic essence of information that you're trying to do. The point is, this talk in ethics that I gave in college, I came down to the point with where is your happiness accessible or not? Yes or no, right? So what I meant by that is, I asked a couple people in the audience, what makes you happy? What would make you happy? What would make you happy, right? And I heard this woman like, oh, I'd be happy when I have a husband. And another guy, I'll be happy when I have a truck, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. And then I asked the teachers, like, what would make you happy? He's like, oh man, you know what makes me happy? What makes me happy is a cheeseburger and a milkshake. I'm like, there you go. It's accessible.
Yeah.
Happiness, he can buy happiness for $10. You know what I mean? What makes me happy is a glass of orange juice. Like every morning, imagine me, like I can buy happiness at HEB for $2 a gallon. Like that's just like, imagine that.
So simple.
Yeah, exactly. It's not so simple. It's obtainable. I can obtain it. I have learned to have happiness at its most basic, purest form.
Yeah.
And I can have it every day. I can have it every single day for the rest of my life, and it's amazing. So that's kind of what we're trying to get at is gratitude and happiness. Is like how can you not fall into that trap where people have all the money in the world, yet they're not happy? That's fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
It's a very foreign concept to a lot of people, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Money really can't buy happiness.
It doesn't.
It helps, but happiness has nothing to do with how much money you make.
Yeah.
And if it does have something to do with like how much money you make, something's wrong. Like
Absolutely.
you are linking happiness to the wrong aspect of your life. You can be happy today, you know what I mean? You can achieve a fulfilling fuck to give and be happy. Like, you know what I mean? You just have to make a conscious decision and find what makes you happy and make it obtainable. Make something just obtainable.
I think happiness is kind of like a state of mind.
It is. It is.
Just being content with yourself in the moment, with things as they are.
Yeah.
Even if they're fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because like there have been plenty of times in my life where every dynamic on the exterior is not what I want it to be, but I'm okay with who I am, and I'm happy with where I'm at, and I'm happy where I've placed myself. I'm happy with what I can attain, and everything that I have put into to where I'm at.
Absolutely. I like that.
Yeah.
Comes back full circle. So now I want to talk about gratitude. I feel like most people need to come to terms and come to peace, because we're living in a time where we're comparing ourselves to everything and everyone at once. You know what I mean? It's super convenient. Get on Twitter, somebody's eating in France, and all of a sudden, you compare your life. Why
am I not eating in France?
Here you are eating ramen noodles, watching somebody. You know what I mean? So, and that's the problem. So here's the raw truth of it: is somebody is always going to be better than you. There's somebody that's always, like for me, someone's always going to be handsomer than me, taller than me, have better teeth than I am, more money, more success, more influence, whatever. But you know something? There is never going to be a better me. You know what I mean? There is never going to be another person that can be a better me as I am today. And that's equates to gratitude. Like you got to be grateful to that. If you are going to compare yourself to a situation where you're like, damn, I'm glad I don't have kids. Because you see all these people that struggle with kids, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with kids, right? But you want to have that kind of approach. Like, damn, I'm glad I'm not that guy. He's like $100,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, for something he didn't really see all the way through. You know what I mean? Damn, I'm happy that I'm not married to somebody like that. They're miserable. Like they're miserable. They hate each other. Like I'm grateful. I'm happy. If you're gonna compare yourself with the aspect of like, damn, like I'm glad I'm not like living in a slum in Africa, because that's something that I told you that I experienced when I went to East Africa. I was just like, damn, I have absolutely no reason to not be happy or grateful for my life. Like there's just none. If I'm not living in this kind of situation, what the fuck reason do I have to have a bad day?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know, and like I think that there's like or I'll just use like the hurricane for example, right? So mind you, I had forgotten to go grocery shopping before the hurricane. I was like, it's just gonna pass on by, whatever, right? So the power goes out, right? I am terrible about charging my phone, so my phone was gonna die, right? And my car was flooded, right? And so I was like, well, I'm on my own island right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like it's raised, my complex, so I would open the door and Marvin could run whenever he wanted to, right? Like, where is he going to go? Yeah. Like the neighbors? Yeah. Like, I opened all the windows, right? So I was getting plenty of fresh air. So it wasn't too hot. Yeah. I had plenty of food to eat, right, for the next couple of days. And I had plenty of books to read.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, my car's going to, like, that'll sort itself out. Like, I'm not going to even worry about it right now. Yeah. Like, when the water goes down, I'll bring in vacuum it all out, and then we'll take a look at the engine and the electrical and then see what happens. Yep. You know what I mean? But, like, I wasn't...
Whereas somebody across the street could have been like, fuck, like, this is terrible. Same situation or situation not as bad as yours.
Yeah.
And like, oh, my God, I'm stressed out. And
Yeah. No, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to chill.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to chill.
Yep. That's just the approach that you should have. So let's dial it back. Is when should you stop giving a fuck, or what do you do when you run into this situation, right? Because that's the topic. Is when you run into the situation where you just stop giving a fuck. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right. So what would your answer be?
So I see this a lot with relationships, and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because when I've been talking to people in the community, right? This is something that I see a lot. A lot of people, they've had relationships. They don't end up the way they want. So their approach now to relationships is, I'm just not gonna give a fuck. I'm just not gonna give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, bro, who hurt you first off, right? Because essentially that's what happened, right? Absolutely. If we're being honest. And I have to ask them to get real about their feelings for a minute. I mean, like, no bullshit, real talk. What are you feeling?
Yeah. Okay,
now I need you to ask yourself why you're feeling that way. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Like, you hardly know me, right?
Yeah.
But
that can be a good thing.
Yeah. I need you to, like, get real with yourself on this question about why you're angry. And I'll use, for example, like, another example, myself, right? Like, at work. And I'm not going to tell y'all exactly where I work. Some of y'all know. But I get a lot of phone calls throughout the day. A lot of phone calls. And by Thursday or Friday come around, I'm over that freaking phone. I'm like done with it. I don't want to deal with it. But I get a lot of calls for other places, thinking that we offer that service to them there. So I have to educate people a lot. And so then I noticed that I was starting to get angry about the fact, come Thursday or Friday, about people not knowing what it is that we were doing, what services we offered, and that I was having to educate grown adults, right? And then, like, I had to, like, dial it back and ask myself, why am I getting irritated? Okay. And then I was like, well, it's because I'm disappointed in humanity, right? I'm disappointed in humanity because they are not taking the initiative to properly inform themselves. And if they're using me as a conduit to inform themselves, okay, cool. Sometimes people will be like, all right, thank you for giving me that information. Appreciate you. You're amazing. You know, thank you for, like, at least taking my call. But then you get people who want to fight with you. And the people that want to fight with me, those are the people that, like, really upset me. Because I'm trying to help you. You know what I mean? And then, like, I have to take it a step further. Well, why am I upset about the fact that people aren't doing their due diligence? And then I'm like, well, because I see all the things that are happening in the world that aren't being fixed. And these people are the reason why it's happening. You know, and I have to let all of that go because I can't control that. Right? Gotta let all that go. And the only thing I can do is handle every single call one at a time as it comes through and do the absolute most that I can for that one person.
Yeah, you don't know what that other person's going through.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have to release my want and expectations for the way that I want things to be and just take them as they are.
Mm-hmm. You want to be very careful, because I hear that a lot of people, they just straight up they'll just tell you, like, go into the world with like low expectations. And I don't believe in that. I really do think you should have a standard. You should have a standard of living. You really should have your expectations, and everything that doesn't meet up to those expectations, maybe you should not give a fuck about that. Like, that's where you where you choose, you know what I mean? Because you can have the ideal partner. You can have the ideal life. You can make $1 million a year. Like, you can do that. You really can, if you apply yourself. If you really know what you're doing, you plan it out and you just do it. Like, it's crazy, but the only way you're not going to get that done is if you just lower your expectations. Yeah. Because then you come into the situation where, like, you've lowered your expectations and you've settled on a job, a spouse, whatever, and now you really fucked up, because you're going to live a life that is just a hollow shell of what you wanted.
And why?
And yeah.
Because you settled.
Because you settled, because you settled. And I get it, it's work to have those expectations and to meet them. Like, let's say, for example, a spouse, right? Because this really does boil down to relationships. So a lot of people are like, oh, I just give up on relationships. I can't find the ideal partner, whatever. Okay, first of all, like, do you have a relationship with yourself? Yeah. Like, do you have a relationship with yourself? Yes or no? If you don't have a proper, adequate, strong relationship with yourself to where you can comfortably say, I love myself with all your heart, you are never going to have a fulfilling relationship with somebody else. Correct. You're just not. Yeah. You're just not. It's the truth. You don't want to hear it too fucking bad. I'm the one to tell you that. If you don't have a relationship with yourself, you will never have a relationship with somebody else. Yeah. It's just the truth. It's true. Yeah. And then here's what happens. It's like, okay, you get a partner, right? And you've never had a relationship with yourself. Then you start looking for something that you can't give yourself in that other person. And then what happens? They don't meet your expectations. Yeah. You're disappointed. This wasn't what I planned out my relationship to be. Yeah, because you never had a relationship with yourself to begin with. Like, it's just like, of course. You were just a hollow shell, like a placeholder in this relationship. You were a hollow shell from the start. Yeah. You looked for another person to fill that void. Turns out that person's also hollow because they don't love themselves. Great. Now what? You got a problem on both ends. You got a problem on both ends. It's chronic. Yeah. It's a chronic problem. It's a chronic problem where people just need to sit down, shut up, and be with themselves. Yeah. So many people are uncomfortable with silence. Yeah. So many people are uncomfortable with being with themselves for too long. They have to have their phone on them doing something because they don't want to be alone with their own thoughts. Or having somebody else tell them who they are. Yes, absolutely. And I mean, it's sad. So when you hit the fan, when shit hits the fan and you are in that situation that like, I want to stop giving a fuck. Well, you need to deep dive and start saying like, the first fuck you should give is to yourself. Yeah. What do I need right now? Yeah. The first fuck you should give is to yourself. And you got to do it as earnest and genuine as possible. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. You become a source of light. Yeah. You know what I mean? You become a source of light. Things just happen. It's weird. It's the strangest thing because I wasn't always like this. I've had an anger problem and I still have an anger problem. But I've used that as a tool, you know what I mean? Fire can be used to cook a man, or fire can be used to cook a man a meal. You know what I mean? Yeah. It works both ways. That's beautiful. So and that's the philosophy that I have for when it comes to my anger. Like, anger can destroy me or it can create me. It's really just a tool at the end of the day. And I made peace with that. I was like, you know what? I'm an angry person. That's okay. Like, I'm going to love my angry self, and I'm going to just learn how to use it as a tool. You know what I mean? And so you just, the first step to anything, the first step to like making $1 million is loving yourself. I get it. Yeah. It's weird. It's stereotypical, and you hear it from self-help books and the law of attraction, whatever. But it's the truth. It's like you have to love yourself. The first thing you should do, like I've read, so the law of attraction, first thing, love yourself, right? Okay. the what's it called, the 5 love languages. First step, love yourself. Yeah, is that so? You want an ideal partner?
Love yourself.
Love yourself. You want an ideal partner? Love yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to make a successful business? A lot of these places will tell you, okay, so what do you truly want? Like, what do you selfishly want?
Yeah.
And that translates to self-love. You got to love yourself because knowing what you truly want, you have to deep dive in yourself and find out what is it that you truly want and how can you get there. It's just self-love. You want to make a successful business? You got to self-love because you have to be willing to do what you're about to do at 4 a.m. for like 12 hours without getting paid. But you got to do it because you love it. And you got to do it because you love yourself.
Not because it's going to make you those high numbers, but because you have an actual desire.
Absolutely. You want to make it in social media? You got to be yourself. People got a fake detector these days. They know they can pick out a fake and they hate it. You know what I mean? So those people, they just won't be successful when it comes to social media. So again, you want to be successful on social media? You gotta love yourself. It's crazy. The first step to anything in life is love yourself first. Everything else will just follow.
How do you even get somebody like to learn to love themselves?
Well, the problem is it all starts kind of like when you're a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It starts when you're a kid. If you were raised by somebody that doesn't love themselves, you know, then you might not never achieve that unless you really are willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
And it's an everyday decision. It's an every minute choice. You know what I mean? Like I've told you, when I say I don't drink alcohol, it's not a decision that I just made once and ta-da. No, it's a decision I have to make every day, every minute of my life. It's the same thing with loving yourself. It's a decision that I have to make every day, every minute of your life. You know what I mean? So it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It's worth the commitment.
Yes, it is. So to end it all, you run into a situation where you maybe think you should consider giving a fuck anymore about life or where you're going. Start with just what do you want and how can you find a way to love yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. Start your first fuck that you should give should be back to you. Yeah. I think that's a great way to summarize it.
Absolutely. I agree. Thank you.